I finally had the Gladiator for just over a year now, and this is my 1-year review. As of the date we're filming this, the Gladiator has just over 8,800 miles, and these are not all street miles. This truck has been through Hellhole Reservoir Trail, the Rubicon, Red Lake, several other trails. It's on and off-road. I've used it to its full potential, and I still haven't had any problems with it as far as reliability, recalls. This Jeep was not affected by that rear driveline recall. I haven't had to take it in. No issues at all whatsoever. It's been absolutely reliable as far as that goes. I've been doing my own oil changes, so I haven't even taken it in to the dealer at all, like not a single time, just when we bought it. So that's just a personal preference thing about the oil changes, but the truck, if you're worried about this being like a first year, don't get the first year model of a new vehicle, it's sort of not, because this is based off of, as most of you guys know, the JL platform. So they've had this engine, this transmission, most of this stuff in here for several years. It's been tested, and if you take care of it, it's reliable. I know there's been some people that have had some issues out there, but I think that's they're in the minority with some of those big issues. So for the majority of those 8,800 miles, I've had these 38-inch Milestar Patagonia tires on. And let's talk about fuel mileage. Now, for most of the time, including going to like my recent trip to the Rubicon, or my first trip to Hellhole Reservoir, which is near the Rubicon, we did a lot of street driving and then trail driving as well, obviously. And what I was getting for both of those trips was around 16.5 miles per gallon. Now that includes the actual time on the trail. So this 8-speed automatic that the Jeep has put in this truck, and the JLs, I think is the absolute difference maker in gas mileage. Now, something to take into consideration is, for most of that time, I'm driving the speed limit or just barely over the speed limit. For most of the freeways here in California, that's 65 miles an hour or just a little over. So I'm not doing 75. The axles are not re-geared, so that's something to consider for this, which I think is absolutely amazing, that you can put big tires on here and get away with the 410 gears in the axles, and then that 8-speed, it just makes up the difference. Sometimes you lose 8th gear on the freeway, but I've noticed that you just put that thing in manual 7th gear. It's not a problem, and I can't believe it got that good of mileage, including the off-roading. So also, if I was just to go on just a road trip, which I haven't done too much of, I'm always going out to like an off-road destination, but I think I would be in the 17, almost touching 18, which is pretty good for a non-re-geared truck on 38-inch tires. So if you're worried about mileage and lifting it, that's where you're at. If you want to re-gear, you'll get some of that mileage back. It'll be even better. That's an additional cost. Obviously, gears can be expensive, but if that's one of your concerns, and obviously if you're willing to keep the truck in its stock form, you'll be right up there. From what I've experienced, I wasn't able to hit that 22 miles per gallon when it was stock that they estimate. It was more like 20-ish, but it depends on your driving style. So if you have a heavy foot and you're wanting to go 75 on the freeway, 80, depending on what your speed limits are where you live, it's going to vary, and you're going to get some lesser mileage, obviously. So depending on how you drive and your elevation too, if you're doing a lot of grades and stuff, obviously it's common sense, but keep that in mind, that that's going to affect your mileage. But here in California, where it's mostly flat until we get up into the mountains, try the speed limit, I've been nothing but impressed with the fuel mileage. So now we're going to talk about two subjects that are similar but sort of not similar at the same time. First up is going to be on-road performance, essentially the ride quality of the truck, and then we're also going to talk about the off-road performance as well. And let's be real, if you're looking at a Gladiator, it's probably because you want a truck and you want the most capable off-road truck. That's more or less, that's probably what you're looking at, especially if you're looking at a Rubicon model. But let's talk about the on-street driving first. And so right off the showroom floor stock, this thing handled great. I mean, it's not like floating on air, but I thought it was pretty dang good for a stock vehicle with the Fox shocks. As far as handling, the tires came overinflated from the factory. This is something a lot of Gladiator guys, and I think the Wrangler guys as well, found out. There's way too much tire pressure in the tires, and that was causing some of the wandering that was happening on the freeway, as well as some of the Gladiators and Wranglers were affected by play in the steering box, or bad steering boxes. Jeep sort of hasn't addressed that problem. There is a fix, the best fix out there. I'll put a link down in the description for the Synergy Manufacturing sector shaft brace, which after I put that on this truck, I didn't even realize that the steering was a little whack, but that totally straightened it out, and I can drive on the freeway and not have to make those little incremental adjustments. So that is just depending on your Jeep. Some people have been affected by that more. Take that for what you want, but as far as the steering goes, that's been the only slight issue. And that's an easy fix. Jeep isn't addressing that, so keep that in mind. You'll want to do that upgrade, especially if you're lifting it. That helps tremendously. And so the ride quality, I'll go back to that for a second. As far as on-road, as my wife can attest, she calls it like a Cadillac. It's like you're in the future. Keep in mind we're coming with a background from leaf spring vehicles, a Chevy Blazer, Ford F-250, stuff like that. So it's not like we haven't driven in newer vehicles, but just the way it is taking potholes, washboard roads, it handled it great. The bumps, it was just absolute night and day difference from some of our older vehicles. You couldn't even feel that they were there. And then let's talk about off-road performance as well. So we did some off-roading while the truck was stock, and I actually was really impressed. I'll put a picture up right here about how I flexed the truck out when it was stock with the forklift. It had a lot of flex. I was actually really surprised with the sway bar disconnect on the Rubicon models. This truck can do a lot of things, and I know it's long and the belly gets hung up a lot in stock form, so that's something to consider. You're going to want to lift it in that off-road because you're going to want to get that truck up to get the belly to clear. But for off-road performance, man, this truck has done everything I've thrown at it. I think the thing holding it back is me as a driver. But we just went through the Rubicon Trail. If you guys are interested in that video, the link will be down there as well for part 1 and part 2. And the truck went through the Rubicon, not a problem. So like I said, with the wheelbase, the belly does get hung up because you're so long, but that's why there's skid plates underneath. And if you're worried about that, there's tons of aftermarket support for additional skid plates underneath. I just have running the factory skids for now, and we made it through the Rubicon with not an issue. As well as, like I said, Hellhole Reservoir and some other trails, links below for all of that stuff. But the truck just rides smooth, stock. And then I'll touch on the Synergy kit that I'm running. It's a 3-inch kit from Synergy Manufacturing, and the ride quality there is like, it feels like stock exactly, just as smooth. They set their spring rates a little bit above what the stock spring rates are, so a little stiffer, and they do that because, like, on the front you're putting on a bumper, you're putting on winch, extra weight, and in the back normally I have a bed rack and stuff on here, so the spring rate is up a little bit to compensate for the extra weight that you carry. So when you have weight on the truck, it rides great, it rides smooth, it articulates amazing. I don't know what more you could honestly want from a vehicle like this. The next step is if you're putting full coilovers on and you're changing a bunch of stuff, because this thing rides great. And like I said, the main thing is the belly. The other thing that people complain about that I never found to be a problem off-road was the departure angle. So the bumper here, as you're coming off of a rock, they said the departure angle was bad, but I never really hit my bumper that much, honestly. And but what I did to make that departure angle even better was I cut off part of the bed and made this high clearance bumper. I'll have a link for that video as well. I guess I've done a lot of stuff to the Gladiator. I'll be saying that. There's a lot of links down below for a lot of stuff. But this really helped through the Rubicon Trail as well, because it's just another thing that we can't hit now as much. So one last point of concern that some people had, if you're gonna like take this thing more seriously off-road, is on the front axle. They have a front axle disconnect, which is a little fork that slides back and forth that disengages the front axle shaft there. And some people have said that's a weak link. I just went and put a truss on the front axle that connects and ties all that in, so I'm never going to break that. Link below for that. But yeah, that's from Artec, and so that's just sort of a peace of mind thing. I've never had an issue with it, obviously, before or after, because I did trips before the truss and after. But if there's something that you're concerned about off-road, there's an aftermarket solution for that as well. It's a Jeep, so it has the insane aftermarket support that Jeeps are known for. In the midsize off-road truck market, there's nothing that compares. The Tacoma cannot beat it. The Colorado, Chevy Colorado, the ZR2, is the closest thing because it has front and rear lockers, but it doesn't have a solid axle. It doesn't have a sway bar disconnect. There's nothing that comes close, in my opinion, for the hardcore off-roading. So off-road ride capability, hands down, Gladiator. Could not say highly enough about the capabilities of this truck. All right, so a couple other things that I absolutely love about the Gladiator is it's still a Jeep, so you can take all of the doors off pretty quickly. Secondly, I can't speak for the hardtop models, but I have the soft top. Check this out. I absolutely love this. Some people don't like how the top flips back on the soft top. They say it looks like a man bun. I kind of didn't like it at first, but it doesn't bother me anymore. I would rather take the convenience factor over the man bun. Like, it doesn't bother me. The flipping up and down is so nice. There is only one minor problem, and it is minor, that at some high speeds on the freeway with crosswinds, there's some flapping that happens here on the soft top. It doesn't happen very often, and I'm sort of used to it. So if you're like really concerned about that, you should go with the hard top model probably. But they also have, Best Top has an aftermarket for the hard top where it just replaces the front section with a little baby soft top. It's pretty cool. So if you can get the best of both worlds with that. So like I said before about the other off-road stuff, the aftermarket's got you covered for whatever you want to do. I like the soft top personally. It's not even that loud. Like, you can hear a little bit of noise on the freeway, just even normal driving, but it's so minimal. There's no other truck you can take the doors off, the top down, and fold the windshield down. So you get to do all the Jeep stuff in the Jeep truck. I think it's really cool. Some people don't like it, but also that brings me into another thing that I think is sort of important to talk about, is just the overall appearance and look of the Gladiator itself. A lot of people have been dogging on the Gladiator because they sort of, and I sort of agree, in stock form, they sort of look sort of stupid, I think, a little. I think it's the tire size. I think they don't really start to look really good until they have like 37s on them, but at least 35, so just keep that in mind, that stock truck you're looking at, and most people that have a Jeep, they're modifying their Jeep anyways, at least wheels and tires. So if you want to put a little bit bigger tire on that, it's really going to transform the look of your Gladiator. I see it as a non-issue because I can't keep a vehicle stock. One of the last things I want to talk about is the interior or the cabin feel of the Gladiator itself. Now, so something to keep in mind is this is a base model Rubicon, and that's it. So I did not get the leather seats, I don't have the heated seats, I don't have the heated steering wheel, I don't have all the fancy doodads because I don't need them and I don't want them really, to be honest. However, all that being said, I still have the 7-inch display on here, which is standard on the Rubicon models. It's got the Android and iPhone CarPlay, Apple CarPlay built in, and that has been really nice. So I feel like it has enough technology in it for what I need, and The stereo, it sounds good. It doesn't sound amazing. There's no subwoofer, but it sounds good. It sounds fine. I can listen to the satellite radio, my phone through it, Pandora, whatever. It all sounds good. It's loud enough for me. I'm not an audio snob. I think if you're really an audio snob anyways, you probably don't want the premium audio package anyways, because you're only going to change it all. So as far as so for the cloth seats, I can't speak for the leather, but for the cloth seats, I find them totally comfortable. I think they look great. They're easy to clean. The steering wheel is really comfortable. I like the way it feels. I like the controls on the steering wheel for cruise control, for navigating the menus, answering phone calls. It's really great. I love the red accent on the dash. I think it really pops, especially since the truck's red. However, the red is standard on all Rubicon models, no matter what color you get. So, but aftermarket, again, they have aftermarket different dash panels, so you can get it wrapped or just get a different one if that bugs you. As far as what else do we have in here? So all of your off-road controls are in here, front and rear locker, sway bar disconnect. Haven't had any problems with any of that stuff. I really like how they have it set up with the buttons. Also, something that's kind of really satisfying is the automatic transmission, the shifter. Something about it feels really good when you put it into drive. But yeah, as far as just the interior of the Gladiator, it has quick release floor mats. It has grab handles where you need them. The sunshades are really nice. They actually, this should be a standard feature, but they actually slide all the way over, which is super nice. It doesn't feel, the interior doesn't feel cheaply designed to me. It feels completely adequate in every way that I want. The AC and the heat work really well. It's 2020, so obviously that should be pretty standard stuff, but haven't had any problems there. It's got dual climate control, so your passenger can have a separate temperature. It's pretty standard stuff these days, but yeah, the touchscreen works well. The back seat storage is actually really nice. So you can flip up the back seat. There's storage underneath, and then the seats also flip down, and there's storage behind there as well. So little storage for stuff. Also, something that if you're concerned about taking your top end doors off and not having a place to lock any of your valuables, so the glove box and the center console here, they both lock with a key. And also you can lock the rear seats locked back. So you could put a laptop bag or something back there. People won't be able to get to it. So just nice peace of mind things. It's well thought out. It looks great. All the controls, the ergonomics of them they're great. Everything feels good to the touch. I think Jeep just nailed it. Let's talk about towing. I totally forgot to talk about towing. This thing, albeit when this came out, they didn't have the electronic brake controller available, so that was sort of an oversight, but that's not a problem anymore if you're looking for a Gladiator. But this thing tows, even in its current configuration with 3-inch lift, 38 stock gearing, it tows pretty dang good, all things considered. I just towed, after one of our previous trips, my dad's tow rig broke down, and I had to tow his Samurai on a trailer for part of the trip. It wasn't a planned thing, but I was able to tow just fine. It tows like what you would expect. Now, a lot of people, if you're buying this to tow 7,000 pounds, which is the max, consistently, it's not the truck for you. If you're getting it for towing, it's not a truck built for towing, but it can tow adequately. It's still a mid-size truck, but it has the best-in-class towing. If you're looking for the jack of all trades, this is it. It can do the off-roading. It can go to Lowe's or Home Depot. You can carry 4x8 sheets of plywood, drywall. The bed can handle it. It can tow a trailer. So for me, it meets everything that I want it to do and more. Overall, I think if you owned one for any amount of time, you would probably agree. But like I said, it really depends on your needs. For me, it just meets It meets everything I need. I have a short commute for work, so the gas mileage not being amazing isn't a factor for me. The gas mileage is great for what I do. The off-roading hits it out of the park. The belly, like I said, it's sort of the biggest downfall, but easy to overcome. Departure angle, not a big deal. If you're thinking about buying a Gladiator and you're an off-road guy and off-roading is your priority for the truck or one of the main things you want to do, hands down, go and pick yourself up a Gladiator if you're thinking about it. Like, if you're not doing any off-roading at all, it might not be the truck for you. There's other trucks out there that are going to be probably, well, similarly priced, and they're going to do maybe ride slightly better on the street because they have independent front suspension. But if you're doing any sort of off-roading at all, or any camping, dirt road, anything, the Gladiator is, I think, the midsize truck for you. I am 100% glad that I went with a Gladiator. I was concerned when it came to the off-roading at first that it was going to be too long. But you just adjust. It's not too long. They in 2007, when the four-door, the JK came out, it was the first four-door Jeep, they said it was too long and it would never be, you know, a good off-roader. Yet, look at 2020 now. What's the staple off-road vehicle out there? The four-door, the JK and the JL four-door. It's the king. It's the staple. It dominates off-road, right? Not that the two doors aren't capable as well, but and just when this came out, I mean, even if you go back and look at my comments on the video from when I first got this, everyone was saying this thing's too long, it'll never be a rock crawler, it's longer than a Chevy Suburban. One last thing I did want to touch on, and I'm just going to be transparent here about, so the MSRP on this truck is $45,000. It's $43,000 for a Rubicon plus $2,000 for the automatic transmission. If you're like me, and you want an off-road truck, and you don't want all the fancy doodads, you can get into it for not that expensive. You do not have to spend $60,000. A Gladiator Rubicon does not equal $60,000. Okay, so keep that in mind. You can take it up to $60,000, but so that's not how much it costs to get into one of these. And I think it's a great platform, and it's only going to keep growing. The diesel models are now available for order. So if that's your jam, pick yourself up a diesel model. You'll get better fuel economy, obviously a lot more torque. I don't think they've released what the towing numbers are. I don't expect the towing capacity to actually increase with the diesel model. Yeah, so that's just my opinions on the Gladiator after 1 year of use as a daily driver, rock crawler, grocery getter. It does everything, so I do everything in it. Also, if you want to support the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. If you shop on Amazon, there's a link for that as well. You can shop there at no additional cost to you. I just get a little bit of kickback for that. I greatly appreciate it. There's also a Patreon page if that's your thing. So yeah, as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.